right? Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash, right? Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Prophets, Doomsday, and the End of the World. And pretty much I saw a meme on the Elder Ishayar, the head of one of the heads of the North Carolina camp. And pretty much he had a quote by Sir Isaac Newton. And also that brought to mind something else that Elder Pastor had told us about years ago, dealing with Malcolm X and speech that he said. And I'm sure there was other Jakes out there that mentioned, something similar to what we're about to read concerning the last days, because as Elder Pastor has been saying about these so-called Christians, is that they don't know anything about prophecy. As far as, as a whole, unless they're, scholars or something along those lines. But even them, they only know stuff that has already passed. They don't know about future prophecies and things that are happening even right now that are written within the scriptures. But one thing that Yahushai, because the disciples, they wanted to know, what is the sign of that coming and of the end of the world. And when you look at that word world in Matthew 24, in verse 3, the word in that particular case is the word eon, which means age. All right. And an age is a uninterrupted rule. All right. So an age could be 10 years, an age could be 250 years. It all depends on what you're, calculating. And pretty much Yahushua gave the disciples certain signs that would be happening in the last days to let us know that, we were getting close to him coming back. That's what the scriptures speak about. Blessed is that servant that pretty much is, waiting at the door. When his Lord knocks, he'll open to him. And these are some of the signs that we are seeing and have seen. And before any society goes down, the Lord sends his prophets out, which we're going to get precept on that. But before I go there, let's go to the actual quote. And, the elder brought this quote out in his lesson. And this is from Sir Isaac Newton. It's called Our Ordination. Sir Isaac Newton, 1642 to 1747, says, about the times of the end, a body of men will be raised up who will turn their attention to the prophecies and insist upon their literal interpretation in the midst of much clamor and opposition. Why? Because these are the things that the Lord said would be happening in these times. Now, I just want to get one quick precept in the book of 2 Peter 1:19, where it says, we have also a more sure word of prophecy, because everything is centered around prophecy. Yahushai, the spirit of Yahushai is the spirit of prophecy. And we have a more sure word of prophecy because the Lord said that at the end, his word would speak and not lie. And we're witnessing the reawakening, for lack of better words, of the prophecies spoken of old. Because the Lord said, before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So we're witnessing the awakening of these prophecies because they were set for a certain time period, and now we're at the time period where these prophecies are actually starting to speak, and we're witnessing the greatest time ever in history for prophecy. And the greatest time ever on the planet was during the time of when Yahushua was born. And now in these times where all of the prophecies are being fulfilled, we're witnessing the second or the return of our Lord Yahushua to the earth in his glorious body, his glorious self, All right. So we have also a more sure word. Matter of fact, let's look up this word, sure word, and let's just see what it says. The word for sure is bebayos. Bebayos, which is stable, fast, firm, metaphorically sure, trusty. So it's trusty, a trustworthy word. Had the Lord spoken, and will he not make it good? So more short, and the word for word is logos or lagos. All right. So we're witnessing these more sure words of the prophets. We'll go back to that quote again. Our ordination, which is Sir Isaac Newton, says about the times of the end, a body of men will be raised up who will turn their attention to the prophecies. Why? Because the prophecies are the focal point of the end of empires. And we know that you had a certain amount of heathen empires that would rule pursuant to the prophet Daniel's vision. And we're at the very end of the fourth kingdom, which the fourth kingdom, any scholar that's worth his weight in salt will tell you that it was the Roman Empire. But when you go back to the Roman Empire came and went. So it said that after that fourth kingdom, Yahweh's kingdom would be established. So what happened? Why didn't Yahweh's kingdom come when the Roman Empire fell? Because there was going to be a pause in that kingdom where it would fall and then come back to life. And we're at that time period because the time where it came back to life was during a time called the Renaissance. And it's no coincidence that the word Renaissance, which is a French word, read back naissance, to be born again or reborn. What was born again? That old way, that old system, that old empire built up upon the ashes, the beliefs, the structure of the ancient Roman Empire, which is the fourth beast. So we're at the time of the reawakening or the resurrection of that fourth kingdom leading to Yahweh's kingdom. Okay? So let's go to this next one. So Elder Pastor had told us years ago that Malcolm X made a speech where he spoke about the prophets being on the streets in the last days. So it says here, you and I are living in the great doomsday, the final hour, when the ancient prophets predicted that God himself would appear in person, which is meaning Yahushua would appear in person, in the flesh. Now they're trying to equate this to Islam, but we know better than that. We know that, the scriptures don't deal with Islam. Islam is a false religion. The Lord is dealing with the Israelites. And even in that same book that they quote from or they adore so much, which they don't read from, Jake anyway, it tells you that the Lord shows favor to the Israelites. So it says, you and I are living in that great doomsday, the final hour, when the ancient prophets predicted that the Most High himself would appear in person, in the flesh, and with divine power, he would bring about the judgment and destruction of this present evil world. Now let's go from there real quick because we're going to have to read that again. That's a profound statement. And there were others that made mention of the prophets, and I'm pretty sure if you look up for quotes that were made of the prophets, I'm pretty sure that you will find a lot more instances where individuals spoke about the prophets speaking in the last days, raising up in the last days. Let's see, the brother put up Sirach 36, 15, and 16. Give testimony unto those that thou hast possessed from the beginning, and raised up prophets that have been in thy name. Reward them that wait for thee, and let thy prophets be found faithful. Right, because another one, is that Isaiah 44 or 59? I think it might be 59. Isaiah 44 and 26, but let's go to the 24th verse. Thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am Yahweh, that maketh all things, that stretcheth forth the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself, because it's the Most High's program. That frustrateth the tokens of liars, and that's what's happening right now, and that's why these liars, these devils are getting upset, because the men of the Lord and the people of the Lord, the elect of the nation of Israel, are waking up. And they can't stand to see that. It says that frustrated the tokens of the liars and maketh diviners mad. What is a diviner? Someone that gets money or that gives a speech that is said to be heavenly inspired, which is not. And that's your false preachers and churches and all of that. You know, that beginning with Esau, that frustrated the tokens of liars and maketh diviners mad, that turneth wise men backwards. And that's what's happening right now. These wise men are being turned backwards. You know, your different so-called learned men of this society, your so-called, so-called Bible thumping, Edomite Christians and Jake Christians or anti-Christians of this world that have a vested interest in the education that they've purchased in the society in order to so-called be qualified to teach, the words of the Bible, which they're not. They wasted all that money, time, and effort in those BS colleges only to find out that they didn't know shit and had to engage with the Israelites in order to know how to accurately debate, how to accurately go into scriptures, and how to formulate questions and, corner people. Because all they're doing is learning tactics from us and using the way we teach, the way that we, exhort, or speak, teach, question, and use it to their benefit. It says that turneth wise men backward and maketh their knowledge foolish, because the Lord said that the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. That confirmeth the word of his servant and performeth the counsel of his messengers, which are who? The prophets, that saith to Jerusalem, thou shalt be inhabited, and to the cities of Judah ye shall be built, and I will raise up the decayed places thereof. Right. And in order for the Lord to do that, this place has to be turned upside down. The current rulers of this society have to be taken out before the Lord can be raised up in his kingdom to establish his throne, his majesty, his rule in righteousness, and to crush this present evil world. So going back to this, and then we're going to come back here because there was something heavy there. So it says, this is Malcolm X said, you and I are living in the great doomsday, the final hour, when the ancient prophets predicted that the Most High himself would appear in person in the flesh, which he sent in his son Yahushai, and with divine power, he would bring about the judgment and destruction of this present evil world. So when we go to Isaiah 47 and 3, matter of fact, I started 1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, meaning America, which is the virgin daughter of Babylon, which is tied in with Esau, the Edomites. You are to sit in the dust because you're not going to be able to reign as a queen over the planet anymore, because your rule and your time of rulership has come to an end. It says, sit on the ground, there is no throne, right? Because you had the time to rule. There was a time to build. Now there's a time where the Lord is throwing down. When we go to Psalms real quick, 75 and 5, it says, lift not up your horn on high. Horn represents power. On high, meaning you can't set up yourself and establish yourself, as anything of power or rulership on the planet, save the Lord do it. Because when Yahushua comes back, it says that the powers of heaven shall be shaken. meaning these different governmental agencies that are super governments, that have a great military, that have a great arsenal and great weaponry. That don't mean anything, because the Lord is going to make easy work of you. So it says, lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck, right? Because you have China and Russia and other nations that think that they're in Ishmael, that think that they're going to be the next rulers that's going to prevail in this so-called New World Order and establish their empire as the next empire, ruling in succession from all those other empires. That's not the case. For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. And promotion is what? To be elevated from one position to the next. So it doesn't come from the east, from the west, from the south. It's not a voting system. It's not a thing of, an election or selection. It's not a thing of you cast in your votes, or you cast in, you call in favors, or you set up a bunch of lots where people choose and pick who or what empire is going to rule next. It's not because of your economic power. It's not because of your military power. It's not because you have the new wave of the future government. It's not because you have the newest technology that's going to advance you to that top head position. It says, but the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So right now he's putting down the final heathen empire, which is Esau, along with the other nations that are ruling, to establish his son's empire, rule, kingdom, which is Yahushai. And we, being joint heirs with him, will enjoy the fruits of the kingdom of heaven with the Lord, which he made that great sacrifice 2,000 years ago for us in order for us to be partakers of that. Because prior to that, he was the only one that was promised that. We were promised it too, but we had no way to get there. We didn't have a bridge to get us from the condition we were in and the bad state and the bad relationship that we had with the Most High to that promise. So Yahweh had to come and bridge that gap for us. So going back to this, this is good too, but going back here, it says, this is Malcolm X. You and I are living in a great doomsday, the final hour, when the ancient prophets predicted that the Most High himself would appear in person in the flesh, and with divine power, he will bring about the judgment and destruction of this present evil world, right? Because the prophets had nothing to do with Islam. Talking about the great prophet, Muhammad and all that. First of all, Muhammad was no prophet. He was a false prophet. He wasn't no prophet of the Most High. Let's go to Amos chapter 2. I believe it's chapter 2 on 11. Yep. And I raised up of your sons for prophets, and of your young men for Nazarites. Is it not even thus, O ye children of Israel, saith Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai? Now, did you have certain prophets that rose up that the Lord showed visions to? Of course. You had Balaam. Then you had visions that were given to other nations of the end of the world, the destruction that's coming, the hardships, economic hardships that are coming, the chaos, the destruction, and all kind of stuff that's coming. They've got those visions and they've told those visions. So basically what they did was pretty much prophesy when they said these things. But the true prophets of the Lord are the Israelites. All right. So let's go back to Isaiah 47 in the middle of 1. O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, because you ain't going to be tender anymore. Inside joke. Because the world is starting to see the truth about you. I was just watching earlier a video by the elder Yahukanan of this woman that was about 9 years old. She was sold as a SEX slave to David Rockefeller. And pretty much he was just pimping her out to different individuals in positions of power to hold leverage and blackmail them, using this girl for that. And that's how these devils operate. You know, record everything. There's another group of individuals that do that. You know, record everything. You got to record everything to cover your butt. You got to cover your butt. I ain't gonna mention no names. IUIC. It says take the millstones and grind meal, right? Because at one time, you know, these devils had it good, but now they got to really dig down. You know, put in hard work. At one time, Esau was just sitting back, chilling, collecting money, letting Jake do all the work. But now they got to get out, you know, get up, get out, and get some. Because, you know, times are hard on the boulevard and they're experiencing the hardships of Jake and they can't deal with it. See, we were forced to deal with it. We had no choice. We had to bear and, you know, grin and bear it. We had to dig in deep. You know, we had to, you know, dig into our loins, you know, and, you know, be resolved to just keep on pushing forward because we had no choice. So now they're put in that position where they have no choice. Uncover their locks, make bare their legs, because at one time their women were covered up. And this is pretty much an indication of how the Lord is exposing America for its debauchery, for its wickedness, for its immoral ways, its immoral practices, so on and so forth. So the Lord is using a woman being uncovered to show the woman's nakedness, which the only person that a woman should show her nakedness to is her husband. So the Lord is showing America's nakedness to the world. Uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. See? Yea, thy shame shall be seen. And we're seeing that. And this is a part of the whole bringing down of this system. Is revelation first through discovery, and then eventually the judgment that the Lord is going to bring them. As we've been saying for the longest, is we're in the sentencing stage of America, Babylon the Great. The sentencing stage means all of the witnesses have been brought forth. You know, all of the charges and allegations have been brought forth to the table. You know, there's been, you know, the side of the plaintiff, the side of the, you know, the side of the defendant giving their pleas, you know, showing their evidence for why they shouldn't do this or why they should do that. And now we're at the point of the sentencing stage, meaning that now the penalty for their crimes is being spoken. Then the next step after that is the judgment that the Lord is going to bring. It says, I will take vengeance and I will what? Not meet thee as a man. Because the Lord, when he comes back, he's coming back as an angelic power to show his wrath. The Lord has been holding his peace for the last 2,000 years, sitting on the right hand of the Most High. And when he comes back, he's going to roar like a lion. He's going to let loose on Esau, because this is the day he's been waiting for. He said the day of vengeance, which is in this same chapter, burns in his heart. So he can't wait to get down here and get loose on these devils. Remember, this is his kingdom that he's coming to get. We just happen to be joint heirs with him. Isaiah 63:1, who is this that cometh from Edom, which is what? America. And who is at the head of America, Babylon the Great? The Edomites. It says, with dyed garments from Basra. Basra was one of the capitals of Edom. Today, this also represents America. You know, the top government, because America is the top government of the world. You can read Revelation chapter 17, and it tells you that great city, you know, that the harlot is a great city that reigneth over the kingdoms of the earth. And if anyone is being honest, they can honestly say that America runs the world. Now, if they're not being honest, they're being dishonest, disingenuous, then they'll say, no, that's not true. Because ever since 1944, America's been running things. They're losing their power now. Why? Because the Lord is stripping them of that power, because he's about to bring them down. But They've been running things since that point, and even before that. But that point was what cemented their, economic basis on the world, because everyone had to, trade their money and exchange it for FRNs, which are Federal Reserve notes, which is an American dollar or US dollar, in order to be able to trade and buy and sell stuff. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. See, what is the greatness of his strength? I will not meet thee as a man. He's coming as an angelic power. He's coming in this big, gigantic ship that the prophet Ezra, mistaken for a mountain, because that's how big that chariot was or is. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. So it's not talking about him actually having blood on his garments. It's talking about him getting the credit for this devastation that's coming. It says, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me, right? Because Jake ain't going to be there. Jake either is going to be destroyed down here in America, or the elect will be beamed up. So the Lord is leading the charge to take Esau down, trod this place. And this goes hand in hand with Revelation 14. For I will tread them in mine anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, meaning he's going to get the credit. And I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So Yahushua is coming for two things. He's coming to bring vengeance upon his enemies, to trample them down, and also to deliver his elect. And even among the Israelites that don't want the Lord to reign over them, he said, bring them hither and slay them before me. So they're going to also be slain. And these individuals that were once a part of the truth and fell away and stopped doing the work, the Lord is going to hit them harder than he's going to hit these other Israelites out here that didn't know any better. He's going to, whether a missile hits them on top of the head, or whether the lasers come and cut them in half, or whatever the case may be. The Lord is coming to do damage, but he's also coming to redeem the purchased possession. All right? So let's go back to this quote. Matter of fact, let's read both of these quotes, because both of these quotes are excellent. So like I said, I got this from the elder, and I was trying to think, damn, where did I see that at? Where did I see that at? I know I saw it. I thought, I knew I saw a video that had this meme, but I just couldn't remember because I didn't actually watch that particular video that the elder did. But then when I found it again, when I ran across this video again, I said, that's where it came from. So it gave me the idea through the Spirit to go and search out what Malcolm X had said, which we're going to read again also. So it says, our ordination, Sir Isaac Newton, 1642 to 1747, about the time of the end, a body of men will be raised up who will turn their attention to the prophecies, because the prophecies are important. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So the prophecies are very important, especially pertaining to, the changing of the guard, as they say, meaning one empire falling and another empire being raised up, which is Yahushua's empire. The wicked empire destroyed and the righteous empire established, so that righteousness can be established once again in the earth. It says, and insist upon their literal interpretation, not spiritual interpretation, literal interpretation. What does that bring to mind? The MOTB being the micro CHIP, which is no coincidence that the world is being moved in the direction of a cashless society, which pretty much means that if you don't comply with the rules of the game, you will be pushed out of the way and you will not be able to operate within that system. Now, if you're a person that's not on the grid, that's not going to affect you. But if you're a person that's on the grid, that has a smartphone, that has a tablet, that has a computer, that has a laptop, that does business online, trade, or whatever the case may be, that's going to affect you. So the majority of the world is going to be tricked, deceived into accepting this new system and the means by which you have to operate on it. And they've been programming people since the 70s. You know, when I believe that was the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, when they first started bringing out the credit cards, you know, or the 80s, I believe it was the late 70s or something like that. Brother, you know, doesn't mind fact checking that. And that from that point on, they started conditioning people to use to not to use cash, but to use other methods of payment because they were prepping the world for the MOTB system, this whole beast system that's coming. All right. So it says, a body of men will be raised up who will turn their attention to the prophecies and insist upon their literal interpretation because the MOTB, which is the micro C-HIP, is literal. In the midst of much clamor and opposition, and we see in that clamor and opposition actually get worse and worse. Oh, wow. The first credit card was introduced in 1950. I was going to say 1960, but I wasn't sure. By Frank McNamara, Ralph Schneider, and Matty Simmons, who founded Diners Club. Check that out. And from that point, it evolved. Just like this whole keeping tabs on people goes back to the tabulating machine, which is the IBM, the original name of the IBM, which is a international business machine, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And it was known as the tabulating system that was set up years ago. You know, believe it was the 1800s, and then it just kept on evolving from just simple adding and subtracting, multiplication, to, you know, tracking people. And eventually they come up with what? They came up with the, you know, cards that you use at work. You know, I forget what those are called. Where you would take the, you know, card and punch it at work. And then eventually it just kept evolving and evolving. Now, when you go to places like Amazon, you have to use certain digital, you know, cards or things of that nature to access just getting into the building. All right. So they're doing that on purpose. And now, as we've been saying, they have individuals that you go to stores and they have to do certain things and use, you know, time card, the water brother, use a credit card or whatever the case may be to wave it somewhere and pick what they want, and then that would unlock the door for them to get whatever product they want to get. You know, so this is it's all being conditioned. It's getting to the point where the physical cashiers are starting to be phased out little by little because they're getting everybody ready for this. The brother said the idea originated after McNamara forgot his wallet during a business dinner in late 1949. Determined to create a cashless solution, he partnered with Ralph Schneider and Matty Simmons to form Diners Club. Yep, beautiful. Yep, 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So now we got the info or the receipts on the first credit card and the people that founded this. And and it's all about, well, you know, you might forget your credit card, or you might lose your wallet, or you might lose your money. It's all set up for what? For what's that called? Convenience. And like Elder Pastor said years ago, convenience will get you killed, in so many words, because they're going to make the system convenient. And it is convenient, you know, because now if you go to certain stores, you can't pay cash unless you get in a longer line. And if you want to get through the automated line, you have to use a card, some type of phone, some type of, you know, tap, whatever, because they're getting people more and more conditioned to operating in that way, because the MOTB, just a wave of the hand, everything is in there. You don't have to worry about if you lose your license or if you lose, you know, your credit card, or you lose your wallet, because everything is there, your medical history, everything. So 2 Corinthians 2:11, these saints should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. All right, so let's go to the next quote again. So I typed in, did Malcolm X say the ancient prophets would appear during the final hours? You and I, this is quote unquote, you and I are living in the great doomsday. Because that is true. Doomsday began back then during the 60s, and this is the reason why the Spirit made these devils set up the so-called space program to where they faked their landing on the moon, right? They allegedly went to the moon, and from that point on, which the scriptures say that's the time when the Lord will start bringing them down. And the same year that happened was the same year that L. Bivens really, that the whole thing, that everything that we're teaching now really started taking traction, or getting traction, which was the Valley of the Dry Bones starting to wake up. All right. And from that time forward, this place is falling. And that's really what began the ending of times. So it says, you and I are living in the great doomsday, the final hour, when the ancient prophets predicted that the Most High himself would appear in person, in the flesh, which is Yahushai, because he is a God, but he is not the Most High. All right. There are gods many, but there's only one power, Yahweh, and his son Yahushai. And with divine power, he would bring about the judgment and destruction of this present evil world. So what happened? For a long period of time, there was a time of darkness where Esau deceived the world, got the world into darkness, but then the Lord caused that veil to be taken off eventually. Isaiah chapter 60:2 says, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. And we're going to come back to that. The reason why I went to that part first. And then Isaiah 25:7 says, and he, the Most High, will destroy in this mountain, America, the face of the covering cast over all people. That's the lies. It says, and the veil that is spread over all nations, because at one time all nations were, caught under that veil. They didn't know what the hell was going on. So going back to Isaiah 60:1, arise, shine, meaning you prophets, the elect, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness of people, but Yahweh Bashem Yahushai shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Like Yahushai said, you are the light of the world. All right? So let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 28. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. Why? Because corruption, wickedness was allowed to reign on the earth, because that was the way that the Lord set it up. Then eventually there would be a point where it would start a transition back into righteousness, back into the tree of life of knowledge, right? And that's what's happening right now. The tree of life is being taught once again in the earth, whereas to one time it was hidden. That's why the mysteries of the scriptures are open. They're wide open, but they're only wide open to the elect of the nation of Israel, beginning with the prophets. There was just a precept that came to mind. Okay. Barakatah how about Shemel Shai? Colossians chapter 1 and verse 25. I know this is one of Elder Pastor's favorite precepts, because he used to bring this out a lot back in the days. It says, wherefore I am made a minister according to the dispensation of the Most High, which is given to me for you to fulfill the word of the Most High. Even the mysteries, Salakia, which had been hid from ages and from generations, but is now made manifest to its saints. See? Who were the saints? The Israelites. But who are the ones that these mysteries were revealed to? For those of you that may not know the scripture, Amos chapter 3, verse 7. Surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. So to reveal something means to take the cover off. Re is back. Veil or veil is where you get the word veil. Reveal. Reveal. Take the veil off. And to do what? To expose what's under there. And that's what happened. The Lord did that to his prophets. So revealeth is the word galah. Let's see what it says. Just bear with me because this thing is starting to act up. Galah, to uncover, remove, see? To reveal oneself. And that's what's happening right now. That's why Yahweh said that when he knocks, if you answer, he will come and sup with you. Okay? So going back here, 2 Ezra 6:28, as for faith it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which has been so long without fruit shall be what? Declared. The word declared means to be made clear. Because at one time there was an obstacle in the way. But now it's being removed. I just did some research and found out the founders of the first credit was all small hats. I figured that 1948 is sleazy because I was reading some of those names. I was like, I don't know, these sound like some small hats, but I wasn't sure. But hey, that proves it, man. Spirit is working with you, brother. All right, now let's jump up to the 17th verse of this. It says, and it happened that when I heard it, I stood up upon my feet and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters, which is Yahushai. You can read about that in Revelation chapter 1. I believe it's chapter 1. And it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth. And how is he visiting? Thunders, storms, earthquakes, tsunamis, but also by mysteries, by uncovering the secrets of the prophecies that were written of old. And to this day, I have not heard anyone on the planet break down the book of Revelation like it's been broke down from beginning with High Priest Ariah in the One West, what they call the One West doctrine. I've never heard anybody break down or attempt to break down. And then individuals that did attempt to break it down sounded like some straight up morons. So the mysteries have been opened to the prophets, and their literal interpretation is being brought out to this very day. And these devils are getting nervous because the prophecy also stated that when we stood upon our feet, there would be great fear would fall upon them which saw them. And that would be beginning with the individuals that were in power. It would begin with them because they would know what that means for them, that it's time for them to go down. And they know and understand that the prophets have always been around. And anytime the prophets rose up, it was time for that empire to go down. Jeremiah 28:8, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence, and also the demise of empires. All right, so going back to 2 Ezra 6:19, and I will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. So Esau has hurt the earth, has hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, the Israelites. And the affliction of Zion is pretty much fulfilled. We just got to go through this Jacob's trouble, but it's pretty much fulfilled. That's why you see all of the prophecies being spoken, because at the end, after the revelations go out and they are sentenced by the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Yahushai is coming to bring that retribution, to bring vengeance, to bring destruction, but also to recover and the purchased possession and pluck them out of the fire of this destruction and rain hell upon Esau. the other nations, and the rest of the Israelites here on the shores of America that don't repent. Verse 20. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished. So how would we know that we're at one of the reasons why we're at the very end of the world, besides all the calamities and commotions and things that are happening worldwide? Well, the Lord said that he would show other signs to let us know that we were at the very end. Then will I show these tokens, which are a sign. The books shall be opened before the firmament. So what book is it talking about, or books? It's talking about the Bible. What is the firmament? Well, if you understand what the firmament is, the firmament is a belt of radiation that goes all the way around the circumference of the earth, which is known as the firmament, or today is better known by ozone layer. And what is out there is what you have within. If somebody could do the research too, when was the first satellite put into orbit in America? Because I believe Russia started putting up Sputnik, and they started putting stuff up, in that hemisphere up there. But I don't remember. I don't know for sure exactly when the first satellite in America was put out. All right, because those satellites were very important for communication purposes with these devils, and they were also the main vehicle that the Lord would use to push this word to go to the four corners of the earth. Because as the brother put the scripture, Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Now, when you go to Matthew 24:3, the word world there is the word eon, which is uninterrupted rule. When you go to the 14th verse, the word world here is the word oikomene, which means the whole entire planet. So the brother put the first satellite to orbit the earth and be launched by the United States was Explorer 1, which was launched on January 31st, 1958. Beautiful. The first artificial satellite, Sputnik, was launched into orbit by Soviet Union on October 4, 1957, because they won, the Soviet Union won that race, but then America came back 4 months later, a little more than 4 months later, and put a satellite into orbit. And that began the infrastructure for the internet, for the World Wide Web. All right. Purpose Explorer one's primary purpose was to study cosmic rays and measure the radiation environment in Earth's orbit. Yeah, but it was also the satellites and these laser traps that they got out there also as set up as an early warning detection for when the Lord comes back. These devils are stupid as hell, man. So once again, 2 Ezra 6:20, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And that's what these satellites were for, the feed horn. You have satellites on Earth, you have satellites in orbit, and they're transmitting signals to each other back and forth. And they're going around the world to where out of the 8 billion plus people that are on the planet, that they have recorded, because it's more than that, because you have people that are not even counted, but the ones that are within that grid, if you have a video that goes up on YouTube, it could be viewed by all people on the planet at once. So you could have 8 billion people watching, a live show. And that is the miracle of modern technology that the Lord gave to these devils, because he said knowledge will increase. So this is one of the ways we know that we're at the end. And that's what the prophet said would happen. And this message is being pushed throughout the four corners of the earth. That's why you have brothers all over the world and sisters all over the world waking up. brothers out there in different parts of the world outside of America teaching the word, setting up, the camp like was set up at One West, and they never went to One West. They never been to One West. I don't even think, I could be wrong, but I don't even think there's one member, not even a great millstone, outside of the apostles and the bishops that have actually been on the block where the school was at on One West. Unless, one of the brothers took, a brother that was out here took them over there to see it. But I don't think there's even been one member that actually walked on that block. So they learned everything they learned from One West by watching the videos on YouTube, beginning with Elder Pastor Har on down. And a few years ago, I don't remember how many years ago, Elder Pastor Har knows, and Elder Pastor Gabar and the bishop, we actually went out there and taught out there. It was it had to be like maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. We were actually out there a couple of times, right in front of the school where it used to be, went live, taught. All right. So I got to read these quotes again because they're very profound. They're very aggressive. So this is Our Ordination, Sir Isaac Newton, 1642 to 1747. About the times of the end, a body of men will be raised up who will turn their attention to the prophecies and insist upon their literal interpretation in the midst of much clamor and opposition. And that's what's happening. And these prophecies are literal. That's why Yahushua said to look for these things. When you see this and when you see that, and you know that it is nigh. It is near, even at the door. So it says, this is Malcolm X quote: "You and I are living in that great doomsday, the final hour, when the ancient prophets predicted that the Most High Himself would appear in person in the flesh, dealing with Yahushua, who is a God. He is not the Most High, and with divine power, He would bring down the judgment and bring about the judgment and destruction of this present evil world," meaning Esau or America's evil empire and their rule on the planet, which is run by the Edomites. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.